He also knows all the uniform. And then you've got one, and then Faulkner came in and said, and Mr. Gordon ran and cut and got the three. You know what this cover, eh?
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going here. Okay. All right, we've got a bit of a mixed session last night in the States. We had the Dow down about 85 points, S&P down marginally, NASDAQ another solid session. Continue to see the NASDAQ being the leader, being putting in some real solid trading as of late. We had a couple things that happened out yesterday. I think one of the big things was on the political space, where we've had Saudi Arabia, which is stopped the bombing there in Yemen. On the back of that, obviously, you got a sell-off in the oil price late last night in the States. So we had oil prices coming off roughly 2% across the board. We had another M&A deal in the market. We had Teva Pharmaceuticals. It's an $82 per share offer for Mylan. That works out to around $40 billion, if I'm not mistaken. And we had IBM also, which came out with quarterly profit numbers beating expectations by 11 cents, revenue in line. More or less, we've continued to see, from my point of view, from what I would say are most of the big names, most of the really important companies in the U.S. Space have really been beating as a whole. I mean, we had Yahoo that missed yesterday, but the big boys, for the most part, have been out there beating, and I think that's the market's kind of able to hang in because of it. Another thing that we did have yesterday is we had 10-year Treasury yields, which traded back up to about 191. We saw a little bit of U.S. dollar strength later in the day. But other than that, it was another very slow day across global equity markets, very little leadership, and we're still kind of waiting for a signal, some sort of risk on, risk off metric to jump out at us. If we look at the Asian session, a bit mixed overnight. We had the Nikkei up about 1% on a weaker yen. Shanghai doing what it does best, just going up every single day. Hang Seng more or less flat. Then we've got Australia, which closed down on the session, mostly led by the mining stocks, and they also they had some CPI numbers came out yesterday as well. Very mild, very hot, dampening the chance for a rate cut. I think that there's just very little leadership. When you look at the U.S. markets, you look at Asia, there's very little to really take from as a catalyst in the market as we speak. Okay, really cool chart here we got out of Pension Partners yesterday. This is showing one of the things he talks about in this article is the correlation and inverse correlations, but how close the relationships are between lumber and gold and building permits and volatility in equity markets. So you can see their building permits, you can see their lumber to gold, and then you can see their lumber. Okay, so essentially lumber obviously has a negative correlation to the equity market, a high correlation to the equity market. When the equity market's going to start to turn down, a lot of times lumber can be a great leading indicator. Obviously, because of confidence in the economy, guys go out and they start to build more. Remember, in the States, they're building mostly out of wood, not out of bricks. Then gold, obviously, inverse correlation, because guys start to get nervous on markets. A lot of times they start to run to gold. So that correlation is brilliant. But what he's saying is it more tightly than even equities. It has a more tight correlation to volatility. And what he's saying is that as of right now, and you can see there in the spread that's starting to open up, lumber versus gold is starting to really open up, and he's saying that that's a great indicator of higher volatility to come. and so that we need to be watching out for a big spike in volatility over the near term because of what lumber and gold and their relationship to volatility are telling us. Okay, today we've got a couple of the big boys out today. We've got Coca-Cola and Facebook. I think Facebook, for me, this is a really, really important one right now for the health of the NASDAQ. The market needs Facebook to be solid. I think here for us locally as well, I think it's also very important. And I would say that because of Naspers and their holding in Tencent, those two companies, very similar, I think, in the way that in the spaces that they play in. So this one could be of big importance to our local market. All right, let's get into some of the market data. We had Japanese trade balance, which was stronger than expected. We had CPI numbers, as we said, out of Australia, which are actually hotter, therefore throwing the potentially a wrench and cutting, at 0.2%. I don't know how hot you can call that. We've got local CPI numbers at 10. And we've got mortgage apps out of the States. We've got existing home sales out of the States. We've got consumer confidence out of the Eurozone. Only later today, though, around 4. And then we've got crude oil inventories today in the States at 4:30. All right, let's get into some maps. Okay, a couple ones that we showed yesterday. Okay, so we talked about a couple support and resistance levels yesterday. One of the support levels we talked about was ShopRite. We said, it kind of got below 165, but it wasn't enough to be convincing. We have to watch that, see how it plays in the morning. Never looked back. It literally traded up the entire day, bouncing nicely off of that support level. And I think putting this potential bigger picture head and shoulder on ice for the moment. Amplats was another. We showed this level here at about, 310, sorry. This level here, we came up, tested it again in the morning, and then failed pretty badly into the afternoon. Platinum, we showed the chart in platinum yesterday, doesn't look good, below about 1155, definitely not looking positive for the platinum market. All right, let's look at CFR. CFR came earlier. There were sees full year net profit down 36%. Now there's some one-offs in there. There's some obviously they had some currency and derivatives losses. They're trying to hedge around their exposure. Operating profit, they say, is up 10%, which is better than the previous half-year numbers. So I don't know how negatively the market's going to take it. You got to expect that the market's going to take it negatively because that's a huge miss in full year headlining earnings. I think that if you look at if you look at the expectation, you're always going to expect that they had some losses due to currency. But that number just seems really big. They can try to say that it's on the derivative side. Either way, I think it's a real negative for the stock. That's going to be an issue I think that they're going to have to deal with for the foreseeable future. And so, and the industry's been under pressure in general. So it's been holding up incredibly well. In fact, yesterday we got a close above this 105 level for the first time. Kind of looking like it was going to break out. Same thing as maybe ShopRite. It wasn't convincing. The close above 105 was so menial that it didn't mean a lot. And this morning, I think we obviously are going to expect a lower open. Just be careful out there. We could open up 4, 5, 6% lower. Wouldn't be a surprise. But we may trade higher from there. If the market likes everything outside of maybe potentially a once-off loss. So just be careful on this one in the way that it trades after we open. All right, let's look at Naspers. I'm going to zoom quite far forward here in NASI's and try to catch a little bit of, just show what we've been doing big picture. So basically we came down in here and kind of tested some sort of support on this pullback. When you zoom this far in, it does look a little bit bull flaggish, although, we're talking about bull flag over 6 or 7 sessions. Broke out maybe yesterday. We got Tencent up 2.3% as we speak in Hong Kong. So probably a nice push coming again out of Naspers. And I don't see any reason why this thing can't make an assault on 2,000 again. All right. Next one we'll look at is Sasol. We're going to look at this on a 30-minute. And so you can see that we've really been making a big flag off of what was major resistance up at 480. And I think what's important to note here is that there's a major that we really have to gap fill here at 460. You know, if we can potentially get lower this morning. When the close in the States last night was quite a bit lower than this. With the rand at this level, the close in the States was below 457. So I think a gap fill this morning should be a given in my mind. But you know, whether or not we can really trade lower is the question. So watch this trade around 460. I think we're going to need to get above. What are we looking at here? We're going to need to get above maybe 466, 467 for us to really make a breakout potentially on this descending triangle or this flag, whatever you'd like to call it. All right, another one that I want to show here is Harmony. We haven't shown this one in forever because it's pretty much a piece of dead wood for the most part, but really, really nice pattern setting up here. We topped out the same levels here at around 2380, 2390 on 3 or 4 different occasions over the past month and a half. We've broken out from that. You gotta think that we've got at least a 3 Rand 20 to 3 Rand 50 target on the upside of the breakout coming here. All of the gold shares have gotten big earnings revisions to the upside as of late. I don't know entirely what that's due to. You know, is that because of lower oil prices and just the mining costs around transporting and trucks and the things that they're running on generators? I have no idea why. Besides maybe those factors, I have no idea why the earnings are getting revised a lot higher right now, because there hasn't been a big move in the gold price, hasn't been a big move in the rand price. Maybe it has to do with the fact that they haven't had any strikes for a while. Bottom line is that earnings have been revised in these gold shares, and they're starting to look up. Goldfields also looking dangerously bid lately. I think if we get above that trend line, to me, which is, call it 54, if we get north of 54, I'd really like to see it north of 55. Then we've got a nice potential inverse head and shoulder here setting up in Goldfields, and I think that could be really, really interesting. The target there would be massive, and as much as $10. So just keep those in mind. Those gold shares continue to trade well every day. I got a feeling there's still a lot of short interest out there in these shares. Could definitely see some more upside, especially if we get above those levels in Goldfields. Harmony, I think, already has another 3 Rand to come. That's it for today, guys. Good luck out there.